I have a lot of tattoos, right?
Yeah,
And so,
I've got
it
a
got
couple of
me
them
to.
myself.
And are you a drug addict? I'm not a drug
Nah, I'm
addict,
not a drug
and
addict. I'm not a user.
I'm not
I'm not
I'm
a
not a
criminal.
criminal. I mean, I probably got away with a little bit of criminal stuff back in the day. I guess I don't
I mean, that's back in the day.
know.
We face our problems every day. It seems they'll never fade away. The world may bring us down. Tonight we're gonna turn it around. So let's put it all on the table. Talk about it if you're willing and able. Life's having insecurities and a laugh or two. Come and take a seat. So bring your concerns to us. Together we can discuss what's on your mind. No matter what you go through, just know we'll be here for you every time. Let's talk about it. Blind table talk. Let's talk about it. Blind table talk. We gotta be about it. Go ahead and walk the walk. So let's talk about it. Blind table talk. Let's talk about it.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Blind Table Talk. I am your host, Saida Victoria, aka Sassy Sai, your blind butterfly.
Hey, did somebody call security? You already know this is your boy Joe Fleeks, already the security of the community. Welcome back to the episode, man.
Yes, yes, so glad to have you here. We have a great show for you this week. Once again, I always
Real
say that,
talk, real
right?
talk, real talk. But you already know before we jump into it, we gotta dot our I's and cross our T's. So, Sassy, what's the PSA for 'em?
Okay, here we go with our website, www.blindtabletalk.com.
You know it.
Yes, be sure to visit the website. Also, join the email list right there so you can stay informed about what we got going on at the table.
For sure. And also check us out on the YouTube channel. That's Blind Table Talk. You can find your sassy seat, the security booth, all our interviews, Blind Table Talk Uncut. For sure, for sure. Check us out, y'all.
Yes, yes. And speaking of Sassy Seat, make sure,
Speaking of,
yes, because this week was Miss Nikki J. She's just so
big
awesome.
salute to Nigga J. That was an
Yes,
awesome
yes.
episode of y'all's.
So
You and Nigga J did a wonderful job. Real
thank
talk.
you. So if y'all have not checked that out, you guys will not regret listening.
For sure, for sure. And also be on the lookout for the next episode of the security booth. You never know, man. I'm talking with
I
my gentleman
can.
out here. So you know what
Is
I'm talking
that
about?
that's just man talk, right?
Oh, that's
Man,
that man
just the
talk.
man talk.
All that
Yes.
man
No.
talk. You know what I'm talking about? So hey, check us out. You know what I'm saying? We out here. Appreciate the
And
support.
and here's another thing too. If anybody wants to join the Sassy Seat or be in the security booth, please go ahead and email us info@blindtabletalk.com. Let us know. We would love to have any of you.
Already, already. Well, you know what it is. Let's get to it.
Blind table talk, yeah.
So, Sassy, I have a question that I want to put on the table, man. Um, I've been looking around and I was talking to a couple of other people, and I just want to know, tell me, how do you feel about moving from one state to another as being a blind person? And do you think there's any benefits in that?
Mm. Huh. I think it's definitely scary for anybody already, right? Stuff like that is a very big move. But here's the thing. I definitely think that sometimes those moves that we think are scary could be the best benefits for us and what we got going on. It just all depends on what we have going on. Now, moving for jobs or moving for lower cost of living, right? Which is,
Mm,
and I did it. I was in California
hmm.
and I moved to Houston, and it was a big step because I didn't know, anybody here in Houston. And I actually moved here with my ex-husband, but I ended up loving it so much that even after we divorced, I stayed, right? Because here is where I found my community, BVI community. But it was so much more than that. I just felt like I was not thriving in California. Did I know I was not thriving? I don't know. I just know I wasn't, something was missing. And when I took that lunge, because it was definitely a lunge, especially never living anywhere but California my whole life, right?
Yeah.
And I came to Houston, Texas, of all places. Texas,
Good
really?
old Houston, baby. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me personally, it was one of the best decisions I made in my life, right? But I don't think anybody would ever know that until they take those chances.
Mm. I like the way you said that, because I was talking, like I said, I was talking with my buddies and it terrifies me. I think about like the only other location that I lived in besides Houston was Austin. And you know how
Mm,
far that away from Houston? Two
yeah.
hours.
Yeah. Not far at all, right? Yeah.
And I even ended up going back home to Houston. And I think about like, man, like Colorado, or I've
Yeah.
I've been to a guide dog school in New York. I really like the community out there in New York. However, did I move? No, because for me, it's I don't know, it's the fear, it's the unknown. But then I look at your story, or I know another gentleman who moved his whole family from one state to another and thriving. Like that was the
Yeah.
best thing that they can ever do for themselves and their family. And so I'm thinking like, is the fear, like, does that hold us back? Like, are we just keeping
Heck yeah.
ourselves in our comfortable state just because it's comfortable, and not knowing that, hey, you really can shake this up and kind of thrive elsewhere? And I mean, yeah, you might be leaving some family or friends, but there's always visitation, there's FaceTime now. You just never know, right?
Well, you said the key word. Okay. The key word is comfortable, right? We
Mm,
get so comfortable with what we're, and then the fear, that's normal. You know what the fear is? It's the fear of the unknown.
hmm.
Because
Yes.
no matter what, you can have everything set up in a pretty little picture, and everything can be, what do you always say? Cross your T's and dot your I. Everything could be all lined up, right? But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, you still don't know how it's going to work out, you know? But I think the better planning and preparing, would never believe in just getting deciding today you want to move and then moving next month or next week.
So
You know,
what were the steps you go through?
I, planned, I even said, 6 months. When I first started, the first thing I did was I visited. I came to Houston to visit. I then kind of checked out and here's what I do regret about that is that when I moved, we as blind people, there's other things that we need to take into consideration. Okay.
Mm.
At that time, I had a sighted husband, right? So
Hmm.
I wasn't thinking about all the stuff that I would think about now as a single blind woman,
Like what?
right? Like transportation.
Go what?
When I
Okay.
first moved here, I moved to Katy. And those
Oh,
that don't
outside the
know
Houston area.
it, yes.
Hmm.
So Metro does not go there. So I was kind of stuck, you know, or had to pay Ubers. That was one thing. The services that are out here, the type of support given to blind people, that's something I did not, why would I think of that?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I didn't know. The community, is there other blind people there? Now, here's the thing. That may not matter to some, right? It did
Mm.
not matter to me at that time. It matters to me now because this is my work, the work that I do. This is this is the environment that I am passionate about and want to continue to help and be a part of, not only for the social side, but also the empowerment side to help, right?
Right.
So the community, what the things that are out there. But then here's another thing, you know, like I did when I first came here, and there was other stuff out here, but I ended up starting an organization for blind people when I first came here, when I first got into the community, so even if you do move someplace that does not have a lot of blind
You can
people,
start your own, huh?
exactly.
I likes that. I
Yeah.
likes that.
Yes. You may be what that place needs. But there's just other things. And then the main thing is the cost for me. Is it financially feasible for me to make this move? Are you going to go and move into some place where your finances are not enough to afford that place that you're moving to? So now you're going to, you're going to be struggling more,
I will
right?
hope you're not putting yourself in that type of situation because
Yeah, well,
that
some
there's no
people do
point
it.
in moving. But yeah, and I hear that,
Some people do it.
and I like the
Hmm.
questions that you pose. Transportation, what type of parent transit do they have out
Hmm.
there? Is the city bus,
Hmm.
decent? How are the Ubers, services, as far as like rehabilitation places,
Hmm.
recreational places, just good services. So I like how you really
Yeah.
plan that out, and even the financial, like, because a lot of us are still on the supplement income, or
Yeah.
we're receiving the Social Security, and so it's like,
Right.
you have to really ask yourself these questions before you
You-
do so. And
Yeah,
it's
definitely do.
okay. It's okay to
It
ask. Like, it
definitely
doesn't
is.
mean that you have to stay where you at. Just do your research. Ask
Yeah.
yourself, do the pros and cons. Write that list out, type it out, or
That
record it. However.
definitely is. Especially when you're on. So when I first moved here, I was married. I was on Social Security, but my husband was working, and I was not even thinking of moving here to find a job, right? That wasn't
Mhm.
even, that was the last thing I was worried because, of course, I had Social Security and then and we had two incomes still in the house. So I didn't, getting a job was not, so now where I move, that would be priority for me too. Would I be able to work here? And if possible, if I moved, I'm having the job that's before I even move there. I'm not going to
Yeah,
move someplace and go and look for a job after I
yeah,
get there. Because you know how hard it is getting jobs for us and for everybody. So especially,
real talk.
so I'm not going to get stuck nowhere now and move and hope and pray for a job,
Yeah, I
you
totally
know.
agree with that.
Yeah, but so if you were to like what, because I don't want to be I made the move to Texas as a leap, a jump, and doing that, that means I know that I can, move anywhere if, especially if the job is right, right? So I can move anywhere. But
Uh-oh.
what's a state? I know, right? No, don't. What's a state that you would want? Because New York, I love New York. It's just it's very, expensive too there as well. That's another expensive place. But what if you had an ideal state, not even really knowing about it, just where's a state that you think you would want to move, if just hypothetically speaking?
Well, with a lot of my travels and what I've been doing and have going on, you know, I like the Midwest.
Mm, mm-hmm.
I'm out here a lot. I enjoy the weather. My only thing is like what I've seen, like especially like Indianapolis, that's for
Yeah.
example,
Mm-hmm.
they're really spread out here. But Bolingbrook, Illinois, not so spread out, still Midwest. And so it's
Yeah.
like, Midwest is so far. So like for me, I like the Midwest. I like the temperature, the people. From
Yeah.
my research right now, the economy doesn't seem like crazy like a California or
Yeah.
Florida or
Yeah.
something like that. So it seems like it's durable. More thing you have to do more of the research is like transportation. What about yourself though? I know you resigning in Houston right now, but your baby might you're gonna be turning 18. You never know.
Yeah.
Like, so if
But yeah.
something was to happen, where would you go?
Where the money took me. But
That real talk, because I'm going where the money take me to for sure.
yeah, I mean, yeah, honestly, so ideally I would love to go home to San Diego. It's just too freaking expensive. I am not doing that. I can't do that. I'm not trying to live with 10 people in one room just to be able to afford it, right? So
Real talk, real
so
talk.
I would let that be the side. But I tell you what, if it was in middle of nowhere, Idaho or wherever it would be, I would not do it because of the fear or because I would say, "Oh, I don't want to move there." No, if I had a
Legit reason, and
yes,
yeah.
in a
Hmm.
financial reason,
Yeah.
and I was able to, I don't care where it would be. That's would actually be part of the enjoyment for me would be moving somewhere that I would not actually choose to live.
I dig
I
that.
think that would be kind of interesting, right? Just
Real talk.
start fresh start.
Yeah, fresh
But yeah,
start, clean slate, like they
yeah,
say.
but
Create a new picture.
yeah, exactly. So, but and the thing I love too is like you said, I mean, no matter where we're at, there's, most of my community that I deal with is in other states anyway. So it's leaving Houston for me is not, unlike you, it's a lot different for you. You have roots here, right?
Right.
If I leave here and, knowing the kids that I do have here, they'll probably follow me wherever I go. Probably, I don't know. So,
I hear what you're saying.
so I have no problem. If I did it from California, I can do it from here too. So, but yeah,
Real
that was a good question, a good one.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought so. I just needed to bring that to the table. And, for the
Yeah,
listeners out there, just in case y'all might be thinking or, might be having a fear, like, hey, it's okay. It's a
yeah,
natural thing. Do your research, see, like we said, weigh out your pros and cons, go
yeah,
visit the place,
yeah.
go
Check it out.
feel it, see if it feel right to you, see if, your body, your energy, is
Mm-hmm.
acceptable to it. And then, you go from there. But
Yeah. Also,
don't,
listeners, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there, but I just wanted to say, let us know what you think. Comment your thoughts, share, or
you can
email.
text us.
Oh yeah, I forgot. And we didn't say that in the beginning. We never do that. 800-321-6456. You can text us, let us know your thoughts, leave us a voicemail, send us an email.
Awesome, awesome. I think you got something you want to drop on this table, huh, Sassy?
All right, let's switch gears a little bit, okay? Just a little bit for our listeners. So you already know I do my Facebook strolling, right? So I came across a little it was in a relationship group thing about advice and stuff. So, but the question was about tattoos of all things in a relationship group, right?
Oh my goodness. All right.
So, so the question was, I guess the person has an aunt. She told him like she was so against his tattoos, and she said that tattoos are only for drug users, drug abusers, or criminals, and criminals. So,
And I'm sorry.
so
Off
that
the
got
jump.
me. I know that got me to thinking, and it was so sad because it was so, I obviously I have a lot of tattoos, right?
Yeah.
And so,
I got
it
a
got
couple of
me
them
to,
myself.
and are you a drug addict? I'm not a drug
Nah, I'm
addict,
not a drug
and
addict. I'm not a user.
I'm
I'm not a
not a
criminal.
criminal, I mean, I probably got away with a little bit of criminal stuff back in the day, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, that's back in the I mean, even on this question, it's funny because I used to actually work for the semi pro ice hockey team out there in Austin. That was
Hmm.
called the Ice Bats, and the actual manager of this
Hmm.
team, who's walking around here with business shirt on, but they short sleeve, had full sleeves, tattoo
Yeah.
sleeves on both arms, had it on his neck, and
Oh,
that man was not a drug user or a criminal.
well,
This man is running a
okay.
sports team, so
Here's the thing, though, and but my daughter has sleeves, by the way, but she's in the military, so I guess they get a pass, right? But whatever. Here's the thing about that, though. I can see the where that can be said. Even though tattoos can be a form of art on some people. I know plenty of people who, it is a form of art for them. And I have seen some tattoos that are just extremely beautiful. Like you've never seen something so beautiful, right? And so
right.
I get that. But then let's just keep it real. Okay. Let's not act like this doesn't come from nowhere because when you're walking around and you see, that man with them teardrops coming out his, by his eyes, I mean, those mean something criminally. There goes me with my making up words.
Yeah,
Um,
criminally, all right. But I get you,
but
like the
they,
teardrops,
and there's
or
some, and you got those jailhouse tattoos. Those ones are not very pretty. They're very jabby and they just look rough, right?
yeah, I mean, you got the ones with the symbols that mean certain things. Well,
And then so the stereotypes, you know what they say about stereotypes, right? There's always some type of truth from the stereotypes.
Yeah,
you
you
know.
just yeah, yeah.
So, so originally, you do think when people, see tattoos, you think, prisons, you think, gangsters. I mean, I can see how people can think that. All I'm saying is
So
not,
we're judging to a certain extent because what happened to not
it's
judge a book by its cover?
no, but that's what I'm saying. It's not judging. I can just see why people would see. I mean, because let's just face it, if you see somebody and they look
Mm-hmm.
like that,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't, it's may not
So
be the tattoo that's making them look like that,
I,
but they still
then
could look like a criminal. You don't even have to have a tattoo to be judged to look like a criminal.
yeah, but for the sake of the conversation, we're talking about how tattoos make you look, right?
Yeah, well, the stereotype, like I said, their stereotype is that it's criminals, right? And I can see, all I'm saying is I can see where people would get that stereotype. I can see where that comes. You call it judging, but I guess it is. I don't know. I mean, I'm
Well,
not judging.
I'm just
Yeah.
playing devil's
Yeah,
advocate, and
I
I'm
don't
just saying like
I
what happened to like before we even like when you go look at a book and you see the cover art, like
yeah.
you don't judge that book off the art.
Let me tell you, I had in my kickboxing class, right? And this is blind me, right? And I had the receptionist there at the gym, the sweetest little thing. And she, just talks so cute and just, oh, hi, let me help you, da 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 da, right?
Hmm.
Come to find out, she was covered from head to toe in tattoos, like body tattoos, like everywhere.
And so if
And
you had your sight, how you
I,
saying it?
yeah, I don't know, but that's what I'm saying because I didn't have my sight, so I would have never thought, like, how if there's some people that you could probably hear their voice or hear how they sound or hear how they act, you would not be
Mm.
surprised if they said they have tattoos, right? But with her, I was completely surprised, which that's one of the ones that I'm saying, she was not a criminal, she's not a drug abuser. So it can be tattoo can be a form of art for some. It doesn't, it's not
I wish
about
we was able to talk to her not right now because I
I know,
wonder
right?
how does she on an everyday do she go through any I'm sorry that
Like
I'm taking this
discrimination
to a
type,
yeah
the
because
discrimination because of how she
I mean because
looks.
that's
Yeah.
basically the the premise of the question like the Annie said that tattoos are for criminals drug users and so that's to me
Yeah.
that's a judgment statement,
Well,
right?
I don't know, but does it make it any worse? Because I mean, I have tattoos. My kids have tattoos, and one of the things with my kids that is like, you cannot get do not get a tattoo anywhere that cannot be hidden, right?
Hmm.
So I would not be okay if my one of my children, and this was 18, 19, when they were younger. I probably had more. I can't say anything about it now because but there would on your neck those type of tattoos, those are ones that are, I don't know, it can, stuff like that can judge you and can ruin. Now, if you're a tattoo artist, doesn't matter where you have tattoos and that's your career, but you cannot, because you will be judged. You cannot expect to go and get a corporate job with a tattoo smashed on your face like that. Like that Tyson one that he has on like Tyson has his whole half of his face covered and stuff.
I
How
agree some things are might be
that
a little bit too far.
Yeah. So, I
The
mean, come on. And so, and even with me, and I will share this, I have quite a few tattoos, and some of them I got in a young age and in my very early 20s, and I regret them to this day. I wish that I would not have done that. And, you always hear people, you better not do that. You're going to regret that when you get older. Oh, no, I'm not. Hee hee ha ha, right? No. But now I see what they're saying. Like, I just wish that I would not have done such a permanent thing because where I was in my 20s is not where I'm at today or where I was at 10 years ago, period. And
mm,
so I have regrets on my tattoos at least. I have about seven, I think, and at least four of them I wish that I did not have.
I hear that. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm I love my tattoos because the tattoos I put on my skin for me has a certain representation. So, I mean, even if somebody look at it, I mean, I have the way I have Houston, the graffiti style is an old graffiti art that's the last kind of graffiti art that I remember seeing. So I can always look at my arm and visualize what my arm, what my tattoo is on my arm or whatnot. And then like on my shoulder, I'm named after my grandfather, so it's my grandfather's initials on my shoulder. So like as I get older, I mean, I hear people say, man, tattoos, they gonna look bad as you get older, your skin changes. However, though, for me, I'm gonna be an old man and look. I mean, I'm not gonna be able to look at my skin, but
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
giggles, I'm still gonna look at my skin and be like, ah, my younger self. I remember good old Houston, baby. My
Yeah.
grandfather, what I'm saying, JT, like rest in peace, baby. I love you. To the day of me, like you on my
And
flesh.
I think, okay, and I get that too. And I think mine are a lot more attention grabbing, right? And so the thing about for me is it's not that because I mean I've had them this long and they still look the same. I mean I'm not my skin's not sagging anywhere yet. Like knock on wood, okay? Because I don't want my skin to start sagging next week because I said that, right?
Oh, not
But
next week.
so it's not that. But here's the difference. And this is not being, my daughter would say, "Oh, you're being racist." No, it has nothing to do with it. But our skin tone makes a big difference, right?
Mm.
My skin, I'm pale as I don't know what, right? And it's just
And I'm
pale,
dark as
like,
you don't know what, so I get you.
yes. So mine stand out so much. And so because of my pale, and then I got these, even if they're colorful, even if they're, and then there's, a few of them are very dark. It's like black ink or whatever. And so on my pale, it's so hard to hide. And a lot of times I don't wear shorts or I don't wear shirts that show my cleavage or even on my back because I have this very dark ink and my pale skin just makes it stand out even more. So I think that could be a reason why I'm the way that I am with them. But just know, listeners, and this is I'm not just saying this because
Show your
I've
tats. Show
heard.
your tats.
No, I'm not. And it's funny because there was a time for our listeners, I actually have a huge butterfly between my breast, right? And I told you guys I love butterflies. I really do. I also have a 5 butterflies going up my ankle with my kids' initials on each one. And that one's not so bad. I'm not, I don't like, but the one between my breasts, I am so like, I hate that one. Right.
Mm.
Now, here's the thing. In my 20s, when I first got it, there
You
was
loved
not
it.
there was not a shirt I would not wear that did not show my cleavage because I was showing that thing off. And so now when I go to work, even fun clothes, like I'm not, work, it's easy to hide because I don't want to be showing my cleavage at work anyways. But
Mm.
even going out to the bar, to anything, to hang out, to have fun, I do not like showing it. I don't, I try to hide it a little bit more. And I think maybe it's a maturity thing, I guess. It's like I don't want attention brought to my cleavage the way that I
I
did in my
mean,
20s.
yeah. I mean, hey,
So it's
you
just
the,
it's a
the type
difference.
of the type of attention that you be pulling in, right? At
Yeah,
the you
right.
you don't want that at the age that we are
No,
now. No, I
yeah,
feel that. I
exactly.
feel
Yeah,
that.
exactly. I just don't think. And then, some people are like, and as probably people probably should be, I don't care. People, this is me, this is why. Yeah, but I'm a little bit ashamed of a couple of my tattoos, honestly. So that's what I'm saying. If you tattoos, there's nothing wrong with, and to each his own. If you have a problem with tattoos, that's good. Don't get them.
Yeah.
Right. But you shouldn't judge somebody that does, whether they're a criminal or not. That's really not your business.
Don't judge a book by its cover. And that's a
Yeah.
good segue because I also feel the same way about hair. You feel
What
me?
kind of hair? What
I'm
kind of
talking.
hair?
I'm talking about the corn rolls. I'm talking about the locks. The
Mm,
dreads, the
Ooh.
afros. Like I
Ooh.
okay. So you're saying that it's because I've
I
been
haven't said anything. What are you talking about?
okay. I'm
I just
sorry.
said, ooh.
Well, I'm about to go off experience here because I've been in a Barnes and Noble store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy had a full mohawk. I'm talking about a colorful mohawk.
Mm,
Don't nobody look at him different. But
mm,
I work in the store and I have locks. Oh, that's
mm.
he must be a a criminal or a druggie. Like it's the same thing. Like locks are viewed in such like he's not neat. There's no upkeep. But there was so many hairstyles. Mullet, you know.
Not the bullet.
I'm just saying, like,
Okay,
it's many different hairstyles, but we're gonna to put a negative view
oh
on
my
braids
gosh.
and locks.
See, and you gonna make me say this on here? You gonna make me say this?
What you about to say?
Because I mean, I don't like it. You know what? The thing about it is, and it doesn't matter because even, even
So
let's just
I
say,
can't be professionally neat with my
but
locks and
that
have on a suit.
I am
Like I
not
didn't look good in my royal blue
that
suit and my black shirt with
that
my locks all neat and my glasses on with my jewelry on and my
okay.
watch.
All
Hmm?
right. Are you giving yourself a plug there, or are you
I'm
like
just
really?
saying though,
No,
tell me I
listen.
didn't look good.
Well, okay, listen. All right. And
Uh-huh.
this is what I'm saying. Even when you and I were together, right? I know for a fact that your locks were your dreads were clean, they were good, they were nice, they were what they were supposed to be,
Yeah.
right? And that's okay. But I still feel dread. I just don't feel it is a professional look. Now, before listeners come at me, because I know there's been, people should have a right to wear their hair how they want,
They
and
should.
they should. But I think that hair, cornrows, all that stuff, I just don't think it is a professional image. And I'm
And see,
not
that's my
the,
thing. So when we become professional, our personality goes.
is your hair your personality?
Yes, indeed.
What personality does it give?
Um, it gives off like my personality of the style of hair I want. Like that's I like.
Of locked up hair, like that's just
I
that.
mean, I could have it in a box pattern. I can have it in a cornrow, which the cornrows used to mean something back, in the culture. I can do, a type of design. I can have stars. What I'm saying is the personality is like I'm more free. I like my hair to be styled up, and I like to have shapes in it. But and that does not mean that I'm not professional.
Yeah, no, I agree. Doesn't mean it. I just to me, you don't look professional. I mean, I'm not saying that you're not professional. I just it don't look professional to me. I don't know how else to say that.
So if you walk into a six-figure company and the head CEO
Has dress.
or just has a big afro, he doesn't look professional,
Yeah,
even
not to
though he
me.
has a suit on.
Not to me. I mean, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't do business. I would just be like, oh wow, you really, you rocking your hair, huh?
And
Like,
see
I mean, I
that's
wouldn't say anything. I mean, I, it's just personally, I feel like hair. But okay, this is me
if it's
being,
not messy, I
yeah,
don't
I
I
don't
don't
like
think
hair.
it should like hair is a part of your style.
Yeah, yeah,
This
and it is. I don't know. I don't. I mean. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And it's funny because when I was, this is the sighted blind thing again, right? Because when I was sighted, I'd never, ever dated anybody with dreads or any of that stuff. Never, never. But I guess the fact that I don't have to look at them and see them every day, I guess that made a difference.
oh
I
well, you still have to
don't.
retwist my locks, so stop playing.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well, no, but that's the thing. That's why I mean, they grew on me, but I was always asking you to cut them things.
you did.
I was always not them things, but but I'm just saying, and then let's just face it, there are some people that do not uh maintain their stuff the way that they should. Locks can smell. I've smelt some people walk by and their hair's I don't even want to say.
I'm even said it even after baseball practice. I'm like, I don't like the way these smell. I need to wash these bad
Yeah.
boys.
Well,
So
I'm not talking about
I
no,
know.
I'm
I'm
not,
just saying,
I'm not talking,
I can
mm-mm.
understand how easily
But
like locks can
yeah, and
smell if
you
you
have to
don't
take
have the
care
upkeep.
of your hair. And then you want to say hair. It's not just lot. And that's what I'm saying. This is my personal opinion. I don't like hair, period. And you said that's, the cow. Because I mean, let Cat Williams, remember, he had hair.
Oh yeah, you had
Um,
that perm.
yes. And, they have, and it was pretty,
Yeah,
but ill.
yeah.
I just think stuff like that is. I just don't like hair. I think a man should have, a short hair or whatever without trying to sound sexist or I mean, men, you can have whatever you want. That's, but I have the right to not like or like it too. I just, especially dreads are different, but I'm especially not going to do the Cat Williams. I think Snoop Dogg had pretty hair at one time too.
Yeah, he had
He
a
had
perm
some,
for a long
yeah.
period of time.
No, it
Yeah,
sounds
it
so
did.
funny when you say the perm.
Big
But
perm. I
yeah,
mean,
but
big
when
worm. I'm
so
sorry.
with when when their hair is, prettier than mine, like, oh yeah, we have a problem. Like I'm not about to be sitting here walking around with my man who's like we're sitting here fighting over the flat iron or any of that stuff. I need, I just think that some things a man should just not be so into. I know that sounds so bad. Listeners, don't. I'm sorry. This is how I feel. This is how
So
I feel.
you are you okay with a man having earrings?
Oh yeah, no, I don't care. I don't care.
So
That
you okay
doesn't.
with the earrings? You
But
just
like,
don't. A man
but
should
like,
have long
but
hair.
like studs. Like, I mean, not. I don't feel like he should have like big old hoops and stuff like
So not
that.
the
Like,
not the Michael Jordan hoop or the little dangly jump man like Jordan used to wear,
oh my gosh, no, that is so funny. I mean, you know what? That
or
I
the
may have.
earring Wesley Snipe had in
Yeah.
White Man Can't Jump.
No, I may have been, but see, that's just, for me, seeing that now, like, what are you stuck in the 80s? Like, why are you still wearing something like that? You know what I
Well,
mean? Like,
now they have them at both ears.
yeah, they do have them in both theirs. They do. They do. Which, I mean, that is, I mean, if that's different because if it's not appropriate to have or something, or if I'm that embarrassed by it, I'll be like, do you mind taking your earrings out? And if you're like, well, this is who I am, da, da, da. If you can't take them out for me for a second because I want them out, I don't, then this may not work with us. I don't know. So,
Mm.
but no, but people can do and be who they want to be. It's not a big thing, I'm picky with stuff and I just feel like men should
Well,
be certain ways.
I feel like it falls into, especially these days now, with the whole self-branding, like you have to be
Mm,
helpful with it, especially if you putting yourself out there because now, if you believe in these hairstyles, people have their certain opinions about them. And so now
you-
opening up that window for it. So
yeah,
it's
you better
like
have on some big boy drawers and big girl panties and all that stuff to be able to to stand up for what you believe in.
I'm letting y'all know these locks are staying and I'm still going to be professional, speak well, and
I still think you should think about that. I don't know.
I look too
Um,
good. I look too good.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying. Anyways, okay. That was a good one though. I enjoyed that discussion. And, again, listeners, chime in. Let me know what you think. Am I just sitting here talking crazy and have no, what is the word, validity to what I'm thinking or,
Or
you
am I
know,
just stuck in my ways and not really just,
want to,
yeah, open myself up to, more acceptable ways?
no, no, you could say it's the societal ways, right?
Societal
Yeah.
ways, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. I just want to there's this one thing I wanted to share before we jump into our interview, right? I went across again my little Facebook trolling, right?
Yeah.
And there was this post about something that happened in a restaurant. I think it was like a Dairy Queen. I don't know. See, this is why I hate saying stuff because it may not be the correct thing that's said. But the gist of it was this: is there was a 19-year-old store manager. There was a blind customer in line, and the blind customer dropped a $20 bill. And the person behind him, which was a lady, picked it up and put it in her purse.
Oh man.
Okay. So the manager, the 19-year-old manager, I don't know. I think age is important in this because of what
Mm-hmm.
was done. I think because the 19-year-old asked her to please give the blind man his money back. And she was like, no, I'm not giving it back, or I don't know what you're talking about, or something. And so the manager tells her, that is not right. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. You are not welcome here. And he pretty much kicked her out the restaurant.
As he
Okay.
should.
I know. But here's the thing. He turned around and gave the blind man $20 out of his own pocket and gave it back to him.
Oh, that was real sweet of him.
I know. I just thought that was so cute. You
Because
know,
he didn't necessarily have to do that. The
no,
fact that he had already kind of handled the
right.
situation and, seems like he publicly embarrassed her
Yeah.
by kind of, holding her accountability of picking up the money that fell out and just snatching it. So
Hmm.
he told her to leave. But the fact that he turned around and gave the man, $20,
Yeah,
and like,
and
yeah.
that's cute. I mean, and that was good too. But here's the thing. We're always, well, all right, I'm not talking about I am always, sharing and talking about what sighted people do wrong, right? Everybody's like, sighted people, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Oh yeah, this
But
sighted person did it right.
yes, and so it is time. I want to share what sighted people like how they contribute to
Yeah.
to what to empowering us and to because the thing about it is here's the thing, and what this is what I really liked about it is
Hmm.
that he didn't have to say nothing to that woman.
No, he could have just
He
watched
could
the
have
whole
acted
thing
like it.
and told his
Yes.
friends about like, man, let me tell you what I saw today.
Yes,
So
exactly.
really kudos to him.
Yes,
You
so
know what I'm
I
saying?
just
Big
thought
salute.
that was so cute. I'm like, I wish we could find him and bring him to the table and really, really say thank you. But
Real talk, real talk.
so yeah, I thought that was cute.
Well, my listeners, this has been real, but we have a wonderful, wonderful interview that I would love for y'all to listen to. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there because I'm still
Yes.
out of town doing my beat baseball thing. But our
Yeah.
beautiful Sassy held it down
Yeah.
for the table, baby. And we are
Yes.
still representing our mental health awareness month
Yeah, this is the last month for the last week
last
of this
month.
month.
Yes,
You said
indeed.
you said the same thing I said last month. This is the last week. And so it's kind of, we're kind of closing it out. Not didn't go too deep into it. Like was, last week's show was super awesome, by the way, Debbie and Dawn.
Oh, yeah. Big
If
salute
you
to
guys
Debbie and
have
Don.
not checked that one out, please
Please
do.
do.
And then we'll add this one to close out the month. So
Yes,
and we
indeed.
did miss you, but we understand you're out there with the beat balls and doing your beat.
Being an athlete, baby. Being an
so,
athlete. But hey,
so
y'all check this out, y'all.
Blind table talk, yeah.
hey y'all, welcome to the BTT Community Seat. We have with us a special guest at the table. I would like for you to please help me to welcome Miss Felicia Brown-Grinstead, and she is with the nonprofit organization Discarded by Society. Welcome, Felicia.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. That was an amazing
Oh,
introduction.
you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is my first time ever doing anything like this, so I'm really excited.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, yes. See, we love being the first. There you go. Oh, yes. So we will go gentle, I promise, okay?
Okay.
So, Felicia, tell us a little bit about you and who
Mhm.
you are.
Okay, so a little bit about me. I don't even know where to start or end with that one.
Right.
Again, my name is Felicia. And I am 61 years old. I was born with what's called bilateral nystagmus, which means my eyes move back and forth really fast. And that
Mhm.
has really wreaked havoc in my life. As a child, I felt I had no voice. I felt that I was just treated by adults as if, I had no feelings, as if I was nothing. And so I grew up not in because I am partially sighted. So
Mhm.
I grew up in a world of division of the sighted world. I didn't grow
Mhm.
up in a and treated, like someone with a vision impairment.
Right.
So I grew up in a sighted world. and which was extremely challenging. When I wanted to get a job and become gainfully employed, that was an issue. But I feel that I ended up in a profession that is God directed because I ended up as an alcohol and drug counselor, although I don't have an alcohol and drug background,
Mm-hmm.
and a very effective one. And it was the weirdest thing because I don't know how old you are, but back in the day, I used to always watch the Bob Newhart show, and I loved that show. People would come in his office and sit on his couch
Right.
on
Yeah.
their
The therapist, right? Yeah.
Yes, the therapist.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's what I want to do. But I grew up in Compton, I had no direction. So that
Yeah.
never happened.
Right. Yeah.
But somehow it came full circle.
Yeah.
And I saw this program at my local community college that was the alcohol and drug program. And at that time, I was going through a divorce and I was trying to reinvent myself. I needed to do something
Right. Yeah.
and found this program. And it had an internship. So I said, oh my goodness, that'll put me in the work environment. This is
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah.
So 13 and a half years later, I am, I did go through the internship and they hired me as lead counselor. So
Mm.
that's how I ended up being a lead alcohol and drug counselor. Um,
Awesome.
it is because through that, I have learned so much. I
Right.
have learned so much about mental health. I have
Mm-hmm.
learned so much about addiction. I have
Yeah.
learned so much about a lot of components that go into mental health. And I was
Right.
listening to one of your prior podcasts, and you
Mm-hmm.
guys were talking about how people don't really like to talk about mental health.
Oh yeah, it's a taboo. It's such a yeah. We're definitely trying to change that. That's one of our
Right.
goals is to,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
Absolutely. Because I say to people, okay, if you're in the middle of the street bleeding to death and you bleed now, you're going to find a doctor, right? You're
right,
not just going to lay
yeah,
there and bleed.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Right. Yeah. I
So,
think the problem is people, when it
mhm,
comes to them recognizing or wanting to accept that they may
exactly.
need that help, and there's something,
Hmm.
or sometimes it could be the fact that they don't even know that there is
Hmm.
help for the type of problem they're having, like the
Hmm.
mental health problems or, the sadness, the
Hmm.
depression, the anxiety, all of those
Hmm.
things. Maybe people don't know. I mean, there's so many things, and that's why it's so
There
important
are.
for us to make it, to
Mhm.
normalize talking about it and make it a
Right.
positive thing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I said years ago when I was in my graduate program, something happened near where I stay. These two little boys were walking to the store and a drive-by occurred and one of them was killed in the process. And the problem with that, I mean, not that that's not a big problem, but it was it's a fire station right across the street from where it happened,
Oh
and they
no.
didn't even go tend to them.
Oh wow.
And they were saying it was some ordinance that they couldn't go over there or whatever. Now these are kids.
Yeah.
So it came up, or something, a similar topic came up, and I said, well, I grew up in Compton. And growing up in Compton, when things of that nature happen, somebody's child was murdered,
Yeah.
you know, I
Yeah.
have never, ever, ever heard or seen anybody reach out to that family
Mm.
and say, how can I help you?
Yes, the grief, right? Because they're grieving.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
People are just left to deal with that stuff on their own. So I think that's also part of the bigger issue
Yes.
is that, like you were saying, it's not even offered to
Yeah.
people in communities of color a lot of times
Yeah.
and taught to just, suck it up. It
Yeah.
happened,
Yeah. Yeah.
keep it pushing,
Yeah, that's that
kind of thing.
cultural. Yeah, the culture,
Mhm.
and it's other, and I don't even. It's not just Black cultures or America. I mean, there's other
Mhm.
cultures that are, foreign cultures a lot. It's sad, and things have come a long way because even
Mhm.
when I was younger and back in, and even before me, it was you don't talk to those people. We don't be telling
Right.
those people our business.
Right. Don't tell them your business.
Yeah, I grew up
Mhm.
like as that was not something that I should do is to reach out to
Mhm.
help somebody when the whole
Right.
time counselor or therapist is the main one that would be able to help me because they don't know all of the stuff.
Yeah.
So with that, tell me, okay, so then can you tell me about your nonprofit organization?
Yes, my mission for my nonprofit is to create an inclusive workplace. When I first started my internship, about a year into my internship, somebody called me blindo at work in front of people. I have been humiliated in different meetings. And so I worked in a rehab. So
Yeah,
there have been clients that have come in that have had some disabilities or differently
right.
able.
Hmm.
And I didn't like how they were talked to or treated. So I said, okay, so as a child, I didn't feel like I had a voice, and now I do, and now I know how to use it, and now I will. So you're not going to talk to me or treat me any kind of way and think it's okay. That's what's not
Right.
going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that
And
advocacy, right? You have to
right,
advocate for yourself,
absolutely.
and it's awesome to advocate for others, but it starts with advocating for yourself. Yeah.
Self,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And so that's where my thought came from because I was just going through some stuff last year at my own job.
Hmm.
And I said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not. So I said, okay, so I'm going to create a place where there's, non-judgmental,
Hmm.
an inclusive workplace where everybody is allowed to do them.
Yes. Yeah.
Whatever gets the work done, gets the work done, and
Right.
we're going to get this done. It's taken me, I'm doing this on my own, so it's taken me a while to get things going,
Hmm.
but I have, at least to this point, have now my 501(c)(3) status.
Awesome.
And thank
Congratulations. That's
you.
a big step
Yes,
right there,
it
son.
is.
Congratulations.
And
Yes.
so now I'm reaching out to communities. And that's another thing because, like I said, I wasn't brought up in a blind or vision impaired
Yeah.
community. And
Hmm.
so now I'm reaching out to those communities and finding support and
Right.
acceptance.
Yeah.
And those are areas that I haven't really had any support or acceptance in that kind
Right.
of arena because, like I said, I didn't grow up that way.
Yeah.
But I am totally thankful for where I grew up because it taught me how to be strong mentally and physically. And that's definitely needed. So that's how the Discarded by Society came about. So
Hmm.
the population that I serve are those who are sight challenged,
Hmm.
physically challenged, those in recovery from substance use disorder,
Hmm.
older workers, because now I'm 61, so now I feel like I'm also in
Yeah.
addition
Yeah.
to
The return.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Exactly. Added it to it. Yeah. Check box, check box, check box. I can
Yeah,
check all these
exactly.
boxes now. Yes.
And veterans. So those are the people that I'm targeting to help find employment, gainful employment, to provide purpose and to, like, we were talking about earlier, learning some
Mhm.
positive coping skills, learning how to think past circumstances, learning how to work through whatever, kind of situation can get people stuck because, just let's face it, it's not easy. So
It's life, right? Life is
it's
life.
life.
So yeah,
Absolutely. So what you
exactly.
gonna do?
Yeah,
You either gonna push through it or you're not. So, which way you want
exactly.
to go with that?
Right. Yes.
So yeah. So that's where that is. So I'm offering vocational training. And what I want to do, I've reached out to a few organizations, and what I would like to do is have a standalone accessibility assistive technology class,
Hmm.
not just for those who use it, but just for anybody who would like to learn about it, similar to Microsoft Office. I would love for to bring that awareness into more mainstream than it is
Yeah.
currently,
Right. Yeah.
and hoping that will somehow, even if it's just a little bit,
Yeah.
alleviate some of the fear or anxiety or discomfort or whatever other people
Hmm.
have when it comes to dealing with those,
Right.
dealing with sight challenges. And so that's one of the main goals I want to have. And the other one is because I am an alcohol and drug counselor, a substance use disorder counselor now, dealing with those people with who are differently able on the level of substance use disorder. I checked with the organizations that are around in this area, and none of them offer substance use disorder counseling. So that's definitely something I am offering, and that I can do now. That I
Right.
can get up
Yeah.
and running
Yeah.
now. Yeah, right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So is this done in person or are you looking to do these virtually? What is the stipulations on the realm of who you can help?
Okay, so both virtually and in person, low to moderate income.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Those are the stipulations, but I am credentialed in California.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Okay.
virtual would have to be in California. Yeah,
Okay.
for right now, the virtual will have to be in California. I feel that the face-to-face, the in-person is more effective. I do both in person and virtual. And I do feel that for a lot of people, the hands-on, the inner continuity of the in-person is a lot more effective, but the virtual also has its pros, especially when there are mobility issues. Either way, I'm flexible in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we are with that. I have connected with the school district where I am, and we're looking to collaborate on bringing the vocational services into the school districts through workshops because, where I live is a real high unemployment rate. And
Mm-hmm.
for those with vision impairments, the unemployment rate is a lot higher.
Yeah, I get that. That's sad.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
sad, but
it is.
it's the truth.
It is, right? It is. It's where it is. So that's what we want to change. Completely transformative in that area.
Well, I am just happy to hear that. So there's, a couple of reasons why I'm happy that you're here at the table, right? Because number one, you are part of the BVI community, and
Mhm.
there's so many of us out in our community that, may not realize that we can make things like you are making happen, right?
Right,
So
right.
not only did you, go to school and you were a counselor, a therapist, and
Mhm.
then you took it to the next step now and
Mhm.
you've
Right,
started your own organization. And I always like to say this stuff like this is for me, it's stuff like it's almost giving back to our
right.
community because
Exactly.
that's really what
Absolutely.
it, yes. And so I want to, celebrate and share with our listeners that accomplishment that you have. And, just thank you for even considering and wanting to be a part because you could have kept it how it was growing
Right.
up with you not
Absolutely.
coming into this community. So kudos to you. So, and then the other thing that I do want to, even though at this
Mhm.
time, you are only licensed for therapy or counseling in California, and
Right.
that's just for your counseling services. That does not
Correct.
even, that's not for your training and those type of things, right?
No,
So
no, that's not.
that can be wherever, but I would like for you to, where are you in California? And, so that way the listeners that are close to you can, reach out to you now for the help and
Okay.
even for the mental health counseling in this
Right.
case,
Yeah.
right?
San Bernardino, California. We might be famous for those terrorists a few years back. I think
Oh,
that was
yeah.
super. Yeah,
Yeah.
right, right,
Yeah.
right, right. I think that's where San Bernardino hit the map at with
Mhm.
that.
Yes. So, okay. So, how do our listeners reach you and how can they contact you?
Okay, so you can contact me at info@discardedbysociety.org. That's all one word, discarded by society. Info@discardedbysociety.org. You can call at 909-619-2717. I am not that social media literate. My youngest daughter is working with me on that.
So we'll stay
Yeah,
tuned for that, right?
yeah, right. Stay tuned for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your organization, your story. Before we do say goodbye, do you have any words of wisdom or gems that you would like to drop on the table for our listeners?
Well, you know what? My motto has always been, although I know this has been used multiple times, never let anybody dim your light.
Mm,
You were not put here to conform, you were put here to transform, and that's what we're going to do.
right there. Boom.
Hmm.
That is a great
Absolutely.
point. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
sharing.
Well, thank you.
Blind table talk, yeah.
Man, what y'all held it down.
Yes. Thank you.
Big salute, big salute.
Thank you to, you know, the thing about it is, and what I really hope that our listeners get from this is just how, you know, us as blind and visually impaired, you know, there may be things that we do not think is possible, right? But anything is possible with a
Yes,
little bit of
indeed.
work. And nothing comes easy.
Hey, that's my favorite quote from the movie Soul Survivor.
Yes.
Long as
So,
there's a little bit of possible, nothing's impossible.
yes, there you go. Awesome. So thank you, listeners. Again, your thoughts, comment, email info@blindtabletalk.com. We'd love to hear from you.
All righty then. Until next time, y'all. Be blessed.